My father told me something when I was 8 years old. I've never forgotten it. He said, "Jimmy, you can't look a white man in the eyes. You gotta keep your head down. You say yes, sir, or they'll kill you." I was 8 years old, and my father was teaching me how to survive. Not how to be myself, how to survive. 78 years have passed. I still haven't forgotten that lesson. My name is James Washington, but everybody calls me Jimmy. I'm 78 years old. I was born in 1946 in Mississippi, under Jim Crow laws, segregation, discrimination, American apartheid. There were schools for whites, different schools for us. There were restaurants for whites, different restaurants for us. There were bathrooms for whites, different bathrooms for us. Even the water fountains we drank from were separate. Whites only, colored only. I'm 78 years old. I've been black for 78 years. And today, I'm going to tell you what it's been like to be black for 78 years. I grew up in a small town in Mississippi, Clarksdale. My father worked in the cotton fields. He was a sharecropper. My mother did housework for white families. We were very poor, but not just us. All black families were poor, because the system was built that way. Good jobs for whites, bad jobs for us. I experienced racism for the first time when I was 6 years old. I went to the grocery store with my mother. We walked in. My mother was shopping. I was a little kid. I ran to the toy section. There was a toy train. It was beautiful. I picked it up. Suddenly a white man came over. The store owner. He yelled, "Boy, don't touch that. That's not for you." My mother ran over, pulled me away. We left the store. When we got home, my mother cried. I didn't understand. "Mama, why are you crying?" I said. My mother said, "Son, you're black. You can't touch the same things as white people." I was 6 years old, and for the first time I learned I'm different. When I turned 8, my father sat down with me. I'll never forget that day. After dinner, he called me outside. We sat on the porch. My father looked at me with a serious expression. He said, "Jimmy, you're getting older now. I need to teach you some things. First, you can never look a white man in the eyes. Keep your head down. Second, when a white man tells you something, you say yes, sir. You never talk back. Third, you never look at white women. Never. You understand? Fourth, if a white person attacks you, you run. You don't fight back, because if you fight, they'll kill you." I said, "Daddy, why?" My father said, "Because you're black, and white people can do anything. You can do nothing. If you want to survive, you'll learn the rules." I cried so much that night. I was 8 years old, and my father was teaching me how to be a slave, because we had no other choice. When I was 10, I got very thirsty one day. I was downtown with my mother. I saw a water fountain. I ran over to get a drink, but there was a sign on the fountain, "Whites only." I stopped. I looked. There was another fountain next to it. It said, "Colored." That fountain looked dirty, old, broken, but I had to drink from it, because I couldn't drink from the white fountain. A white man yelled at me, "Boy, you better not touch that white fountain." I was scared, so scared. I ran to my mother. My mother held my hand. "Come on, Jimmy, let's go home." That day I understood. Even our water was separate, because white people didn't want to drink water we had touched. When I was 12, something happened. There was a man in our town, a black man named Mr. Thomas. He was in his 40s, a good man, had a family. One day he was walking downtown. A white woman was walking down the street. Mr. Thomas accidentally bumped into her. He apologized. "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm sorry." But the woman screamed, "He touched me. That Negro touched me." The police came. They arrested Mr. Thomas, put him in handcuffs, took him away. Assault on a white woman. Mr. Thomas hadn't done anything. They just accidentally bumped into each other. But he went to jail. He served 6 months. His family went hungry. His wife and 3 children. because their father was in prison for accidentally bumping into a white woman. My mother called me home that day. She looked at me seriously. She said, "Jimmy, you listen to me very carefully. You never look at white women. You understand? Don't look at them. Don't talk to them. When you pass by them, keep your head down. Because if you do something wrong, or if they think you did something wrong, they'll arrest you. And once you're arrested, you might never get out." I said, "Mama, but I didn't do anything." My mother said, "Doesn't matter. You're black. That's enough." I was scared, so scared. That night I thought about Mr. Thomas's children, those children left without a father, and I understood. I could be arrested at any time, just for being black, just for being in the wrong place, or for someone thinking I did something wrong. I was 12 years old, and I was afraid of the justice system, because that system didn't protect us. That system punished us. Mr. Thomas got out of prison after 6 months, but he wasn't the same anymore. He was broken. He'd lost his job. No one wanted to hire him. Ex-con. His family had fallen apart. His wife had left him. His children resented him. One man, an innocent man. His life was destroyed, just for accidentally bumping into a white woman. From that day on, I was very careful. When I walked down the street and saw white women, I'd cross to the other sidewalk. I'd keep my head down. I wouldn't make eye contact. As a 12-year-old child, I learned how to become invisible, because being visible was dangerous. Being black and visible was a crime. When I was 13, I went to school. Colored school. School for black people. The white school was somewhere else. Their school was new, clean, had a big playground. Our school was like an old barn. The roof leaked. The windows were broken. Our books were old books that white kids had used and thrown away. They had white children's names written in them. We read from those old books. Our teacher, Mrs. Johnson, worked so hard, but there weren't enough resources, because the government didn't give money to black schools. When I was 14, I got on the bus. I was going downtown. I got on the bus, went to the back, because black people always sat in the back. There was a sign in the front, whites only. There was a sign in the back, colored. The bus filled up. A white man got on. The driver turned around, yelled, "You, boy, stand up. Give that man your seat." I was sitting. I was so tired, but I had to stand up, because a white man wanted a seat. I stood up. The man sat down. I stood. I stood for 30 minutes, because I was black, and black people didn't have a place to sit. That year, in 1955, Rosa Parks also refused to stand up on the bus. In Montgomery, Alabama, a white man told her, "Give up your seat." Rosa Parks said, "No." They arrested her. But that action started something. Montgomery bus boycott. For 381 days, black people didn't ride the buses. They walked. Martin Luther King Jr. led the movement. And finally they won. Segregation on buses ended. I was 9 to 10 years old at the time, and for the first time, I felt hope. Maybe change is possible, but it would take a very long time. When I was 15, something else happened. My father and I had gone to a gas station. I needed to use the bathroom. I saw a bathroom. It said, "Men." I wanted to go in, but someone yelled, "Hey boy, that's for whites. Your bathroom is back there." I went to the back. There was a small, dirty bathroom. It said, "Colored." The door was broken. Inside was filthy. But I had to go in there, because I couldn't use the white bathroom. They even made us shit separately, because white people didn't want to touch what we had touched. In 1961, I was 15 years old. My father said, "Jimmy, we're leaving here." "Where?" I said. "Detroit, Michigan, up north. It's better there." The Great Migration. Millions of black people left the South and went north, because life in the South was unbearable. Detroit had factories. There were jobs. Ford Motor Company was hiring workers. We packed our bags, left Mississippi, got on a train, went north. When we arrived in Detroit, everything was different. The first thing I noticed, there were no whites-only signs. You get on the bus, you can sit anywhere. You go to the bathroom, no separate bathroom. You drink from a fountain, no separate fountain. For the first time I felt free. But I soon realized segregation had legally ended, but it still existed in people's hearts. When I was 16, I started looking for work. I applied to a store. A white man looked at me. He said, "We don't hire coloreds here." I went somewhere else. Same answer. "We already have enough colored workers." Finally, I went to a factory, Ford Motor Company. They hired black workers, but black people got the worst jobs, the hardest jobs, the most dangerous jobs. I worked on the assembly line. We stood all day. I worked there for 40 years. In 1964, something happened. The Civil Rights Act was signed. President Lyndon B. Johnson signed it. Segregation legally ended. Discrimination was now illegal. In workplaces, in schools, in restaurants. I was 18 years old, and for the first time I thought, maybe we can finally be equal. But there was still a very long road ahead. In 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. In Memphis, Tennessee, he was assassinated. That day, the world fell apart. I was 22 years old. Riots broke out in Detroit. Black people poured into the streets. There was anger. There was pain. Why? Why did they kill him? He was a peaceful man. He didn't want violence, but they killed him anyway, because white America didn't want change. In 1970, I married Rosa. She was a beautiful woman, a strong woman. We had 2 children, Michael and Angela. I wanted to give them a good life. I didn't want them to see segregation. But there was still discrimination. It was just more hidden. In 1975, we wanted to buy a house in a white neighborhood. There were good schools there. I went to a realtor, a white man. I said, "I want to buy a house in that neighborhood." He looked at me. He said, "Well, that neighborhood, it's not really for, your kind." He didn't want to say your kind. He meant black people, but he couldn't say it because it was illegal. But he still wouldn't do it. They called it redlining, preventing black people from entering good neighborhoods. We finally bought a house in another neighborhood, but the schools there were bad. And again, we were separated. My children grew up. Michael and Angela. I sent them to college. I worked so hard for that. They went to university. They graduated. They got good jobs. But still, they still experienced discrimination. Michael came home one day. He was crying. He was 30 years old. He was an engineer. He said, "Dad, they pulled me over, the police, for no reason, just because I'm black. They searched my car. They treated me like a criminal. They call it driving while black. It's like it's a crime." In 2008, something happened. Barack Obama was elected president, the first black president. I was 62 years old. I watched it on television. I cried. I held Rosa's hand. I said, "Rosa, we made it. We finally made it." But Rosa said, "Jimmy, it's not over. It's just beginning." And Rosa was right. In 2010, Rosa passed away. Cancer. My world fell apart. But life continued. In 2020, I was 74 years old. One day I turned on the television. I saw something on the news. George Floyd, in Minneapolis. A police officer pressing his knee on his neck. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. George Floyd was screaming, "I can't breathe! I can't breathe!" I was watching the television, and I was crying, because in that moment, I saw Mr. Thomas. In that moment, I saw Martin Luther King. In that moment, I saw my father. I was 74 years old, and black people were still dying, just for being black. That summer, Black Lives Matter protests started. The streets filled up. White people were there. Black people were there. They were all marching together. Black Lives Matter. I went too. I was 78 years old, but I had to go, because I'd been fighting this fight for 78 years, and it still wasn't over. Now I'm 78 years old. I have grandchildren, 5 of them. I tell them my stories. I tell them about whites-only signs. I tell them about Rosa Parks. I tell them about Martin Luther King. I tell them about Mr. Thomas. I tell them about George Floyd, because they need to know why it's been so hard, why we still have to fight. People ask me, Jimmy, is it better after 78 years? I tell them, yes, it's better, but it's still not over. Is Jim Crow dead? No, it just put on different clothes. There are no more whites-only signs, but there's still redlining. There's still police brutality. There's still mass incarceration. There's still discrimination. It's just more hidden. I'm 78 years old. I've been black for 78 years. And today, I'm telling you, the fight isn't over. But don't give up, because we've accomplished so much, and we'll accomplish more. I can't breathe, said George Floyd. But we will keep breathing, because we are strong, we are resilient, and we will win. One day. If you want to hear more stories from the heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share your thoughts with me in the comments. Love you all.